Peggy 18.
Welcome back to the temporary worldwide headquarters of ZeniMax Online Studios. Last month, I got to speak with you during QuakeCon at home. We had a lot of fun connecting with all of you, our amazing community, during 3 days of panels, streams, and lots more. Plus, I got to share the global reveal of our Stonethorn DLC gameplay trailer. Today, we'll give you a first look at everything we have planned for the remainder of the year, and there's a lot. We'll give you a sneak peek at the epic conclusion of the Dark Heart of Skyrim year-long adventure. We've got new free content, updates on upcoming community events, and plenty more. Regardless of whether you've been with us from the beginning or just recently joined us in Western Skyrim, we've got a lot going on to keep you busy in Tamriel. Oh, one last thing. It wouldn't be an ESO stream without us giving away an in-game item. So, for everyone watching live, you'll be able to claim a purple torchbug pet for free. Now sit back and enjoy as we head back to Skyrim for more adventures together.
Nice shirt, Matt. Hi, I'm Rich Lambert, Creative Director at ZeniMax Online Studios. Welcome to my home. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to personally thank the ESO community. You've made Tamriel your home away from home, and during these challenging times, we're seeing more and more of you playing the game, both new and returning players. That means so much to all of us here at ZOS, as you are the ones that make ESO what it is today. Our year-long journey through the Dark Heart of Skyrim began back in February with the Harrowstorm DLC. Since then, we've released 2 additional updates to the story in Greymoor and Stonethorn. These content drops have taken you to one of the most beloved locations in Tamriel, which is Western Skyrim, and are set almost 1,000 years before the events of Elder Scrolls V. Millions of you have already descended into this dark tale of vampires and werewolves, and we can't wait for you to experience the epic conclusion. The ESO Markarth DLC releases November 2nd on PC, Mac, and Stadia, and November 10th on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. But before we dive deeper into Markarth, let's take a quick look back at some of the highlights from this past year and how we got to where we are. Don't worry, I promise no spoilers. So much has happened over the past 8 months, setting you up for the final showdown with the powerful vampire lord, Rada al-Saran. With more on how the Dark Heart of Skyrim story continues in ESO Markarth, let's throw it over to lead writer Bill Slavisek and senior content designer Janet Priblo.
So what drives us to Markarth? In the Greymoor chapter, we learned that Rada al-Saran's plans were taking him to the Reach.
This is the Reach, and the Reach people are in their homeland. They're not conquered by anyone at the moment. They're not fighting anyone trying to take over their land. They are in the land that they feel is theirs.
You know, nostalgia is a very important element for a lot of our game because the fans are so invested in what has come before in Elder Scrolls. When they get to Markarth, they're going to get to walk around a city they've seen before, except 800 years later. So this is a different version of that same place. It's going to feel familiar. It's going to look familiar, but it's also different and exciting and full of different people than you met the last time you were there.
It's not like this pristine city that you see in Skyrim, for example. And see a lot more people with antlers. They love fashion with antlers, so you do see that a lot too. Getting to work and create for the Reach people as just people, not a common enemy you run across everywhere, was one of the most fun things on this release. You end up meeting some Reach people that you work with, and so you develop a relationship with them. There's a character, Arana, who I loved working on this and creating quests around this character. She's really strong. She's also a witch. That is a term of respect for the Reach people for the most part.
The player actually gets to ask the question, "You're really a witch? You're not like anyone I've ever met before." And she says, "Oh, have you met a lot of us in the past?" That was a pretty clever exchange to put together.
One of the people you face, and this time literally, Rada El-Saran, I would call him the big bad of the zone.
He was originally a Redguard sword saint before he became a vampire, and this was eons ago.
Rada El-Saran is not interested in taking over the world. He doesn't want to destroy Tamriel. He doesn't want to wipe out a race of people. That's not his jam. What he wants, it's a very personal quest. It just happens to probably result into the death of many, many people.
We're bringing back Sai Sahan. He is the Redguard, Dragon Guard character from the original main story. He shows up along with his beloved Snow Lily, Lyris Titanborn.
As a designer, you especially like to bring back a character that you might have worked with. And so Verandas, we got to flesh him out further as time has gone on. Our storytelling, I think, has gotten deeper, so our characters get a little deeper. And you find out a lot more about him. Verandas is very old, and as is Rada El-Saran, and then you realize they had a connection. And as you go through the quest, you realize it was a pretty strong connection.
There's a big secret between him and Verandas that goes back centuries. I think that's going to be a really cool reveal as that unfolds as the story progresses.
One of the other big deals is a woman called Lady Belaine, who is stunning, and she knows it. And you have to figure out what her game is as you go through the quest line.
She is an ancient vampire. She is working with the Grey Host because it is in her best interest, not because she believes in Rada El-Saran's ultimate goal and plan.
And like Rada El-Saran, she's not a straight up, she's not mustache twirling villain. She also has very strong reasons for wanting what she wants.
She is a very complex, mystifying character, and when you find out the whole backstory, I think it will be very, very illuminating because it's kind of different from anything we've done before with the vampires. We have a character called the Despot of Markarth. He is a Reachman who has aspirations of being king of the Reach, even though the Reach folk don't like that title. So he goes by the title of Ard, which means king of the fort. We wrote Ard Kadok as a very blustery, no-nonsense, just as willing to kill you as work with you.
And you kind of just want to smack him half the time, and he's always with the pithy, sayings and things like that.
But he kind of grows on the player as the story goes along, and the player earns his respect, and I think the player also gains respect for him as the story progresses.
There is more to the Dark Heart than just this gothic tone, and you will absolutely find out what that is.
You get rocketed right into the story, and it's non-stop action as you try to figure out what the Grey Host is up to in the Reach, why they've come to this desolate land, and what it means for the Reach folk who are caught in the middle of this war that's not theirs.
There's a certain satisfaction to stopping the bad guy, but also having a full understanding of, why this happened. And to me, that was just a great way to conclude a year-long adventure of dealing with vampires and werewolves and creepy dark things and going underground and everything.
Back in January, when we first revealed Greymoor, Pete and I shared some of our own memories of Skyrim. And like many of you, we have very fond memories of adventuring in that world.
And with me in pants, so you know it's a big day.
Now we get a rare opportunity to take our community back to one of the most beloved regions in Tamriel and provide a different look at Skyrim from the perspective of our era. One of my favorite moments while developing this DLC was walking up to the Gates of Markarth during our initial blockout stages for the very first time. Seeing this epic Dwemer fortress built into the mountainside and instantly recognizing it from Skyrim was so cool. Skyrim comes to life in a new way, and that continues in Markarth, which takes you to places familiar, but new. Or is that old?
When I first saw Markarth in Skyrim, it was exactly the kind of city I love when I'm playing a fantasy game. Most of the city is actually not even visible. It's beautiful, there's waterfalls and there's citizens walking around and everything looks amazing. And then you go in one of these doors and you realize that this thing goes 70 meters back into the rock wall, and it's all this Dwemer madness. Part of that mystery and storytelling that Skyrim does all over the place, where you're happy to be there, but you really want to know more about what's going on.
When you walk in there, just the sheer scale and verticality of it is out of control. Like, it's nuts. Markarth exists in our time period, but still has those huge dwarven spires and big buildings and walls and stuff. We are kind of harkening back to, the original Skyrim interpretation, but during our time period, it is not controlled by the Nord.
This city that's been abandoned by the Dwemer is now completely overrun or occupied by the Reachmen, who are a bit rougher around the edges.
When we talked about the city of Markarth specifically, we said, all right, this Markarth, but it's going to look different. We're going to have to get some Reach influence in there.
When they come into this city, they don't get what all this fancy schmancy Dwemer nonsense was about. They want to know why the walls are so clean. Why aren't there some fetishes up there? Why aren't there some markings on that wall? When you get down underneath Markarth, you're going to find out that Blackreach Caverns extend all over the whole of Western Skyrim.
Blackreach allows us to show a really alien landscape that contrasts a lot from what we'll see topside.
In the hundreds and thousands of years since the Dwemer have been there, now the vampires have been down there. Now the Reachmen are starting to find their way down there. And we're finding out more of the story of what the Dwemer were doing down here, and subsequently what the vampires have been doing down here.
The Library of Arthsand and some of the other dwarven ruins in Blackreach are tremendous. Just walking into the library, you can look up and you see stacks of what might have been books or scientific tools and stuff, and the scale of it is really tremendous.
We got to think about and design, well, what would Dwemer academia look like? Would they have just simple walls with a couple of books and bookshelves? No, they would build bookshelves that went 80 meters up into the ceiling, right? Because they're Dwemer and that's the way they're gonna do it. Everything they do is grand. We have an enormous cave. How do we go tall in a cave like that?
And then when you combine that with some of the vampiric architecture that we've developed, it doesn't feel like you're in a cave at all. It feels like you're standing at the foot of this horrific cathedral. It's both sprawling and amazing, but also sort of claustrophobic.
We wanted to make sure that all the visuals were supporting that storytelling of a year-long, gothic, dark adventure.
There are a number of new monsters that tie in kind of explicitly with the plot. They're these dark, inky, shadowy beings. And this is another case where we worked hand in hand with CJ and the art team to develop a new language for, okay, they're not just shadows, right? They're not just skeletons. These are something different.
One of the new creatures we got to do was a massive Dwemer fortress, sort of, a walking insectoid, sort of reminiscent of a rhinoceros beetle.
The Dwarven Dynaster is unbelievable. It's unlike any Dwarven war machine that we've seen before. We've never created anything at the scale of the Dynaster. Going to Skyrim is like going home, but it's like kind of going to home and you get there and the door's already open. You're like, what's going on here? It's home, but it's something is off, right?
There are intrigues There are vampires. There are people getting ready to be backstabbed when they think they're about to backstab someone else.
At the end of this story, you'll really have a sense that we've told a complete story, and Skyrim will never be the same again.
So there's a lot of cool stuff to explore in Markarth when it releases November 2nd on PC, Mac, and Stadia, and November 10th on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. There's about 10 hours of new content in this DLC, in addition to a brand new solo arena. The first one since Maelstrom, and I'm so excited to get in there, learn some new mechanics, and chase some new leaderboard times. We're a few months away from the DLC release, but we wanted to give you an exclusive sneak peek. This is ESO Markarth. If you're eager to get started on the Markarth story, I've got some exciting news. The prologue quest that kicks off Markarth is available today, and it's free for anyone who owns ESO. So even if you haven't started Greymoor, you can still get a taste of ESO's take on Skyrim right now. I love this prologue quest because it brings back an old friend, one you've grown to trust and admire. That's right, Verandis is coming back. And along the way, you will discover a secret about him that kind of turns your world upside down. The ESO community has had a lot of fun with the antiquity system that came with the Greymoor chapter. Antiquities change how you play ESO by ramping up the exploration of the world in search of hidden treasures. It's a great way to go sightseeing throughout the entirety of Tamriel and learn more about the lore of Elder Scrolls. We have our next in-game event kicking off in just a few days, and it centers around antiquities. Get ready for the Lost Treasures of Skyrim. We're challenging the ESO community to work together to reach a goal. Grab your shovel and your antiquarian's eye because we're asking everyone to dig up antiquities and lost treasures throughout Western Skyrim. The more you participate, the more treasures will be uncovered and the more rewards we'll be giving away. You won't want to miss these in-game rewards either. There's an awesome face and body markings pair, a pet, and if you all hit or surpass the overall goal, you'll get the super cool Antiquarian's Alpine Gallery home and unique house guest. Perfect for showing off all your prized possessions to all your friends. And remember, house guests and character pathing in homes is brand new to ESO. It launched with Update 27, and it's been so exciting to see just how much fun players are already having with it. The event launches on September 23rd on all platforms. You can visit the ESO website to track the community's progression towards unlocking all these goodies, but you will need the Greymoor chapter to participate. With this amazing event, now is the perfect time to jump into ESO. It's Skyrim, it's ESO, it's antiquities, it's a ton of fun, and we're proud of it. We have a ton of in-game events, activities, and prizes, all in celebration of the amazing growing community within the Elder Scrolls Online. In fact, let's take a look at some of the highlights right now for everything coming your way soon. Yes, we can confirm that many of your favorite in-game events will be returning this year, including Witches Fest, an Undaunted celebration, and New Life. And before I hand the reins over to Gina and Jess for a special ESO Live, a few quick reminders. ESO Markarth is available November 2nd on PC, Mac, and Stadia, and November 10th for Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and anyone with the base game can play the Prologue Quest today. And for those already in Greymore, you can uncover the Lost Treasures of Skyrim starting on September 23rd. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you again for joining us for this inside look at all the content coming to ESO and the Dark Heart of Skyrim. And thank you for being the best community in gaming. We'll see you all in Tamriel.
You guys want to see my bees? And these are my bees. I love them. I'm not going to open it up because I don't have my suit on.
Beethoven's the one that barks. He went back upstairs to go to sleep, so he's not going to bark.
Hello. I can tell you more about the cicada killers.
Well, this is the longest I've been outside in weeks.
That is the House of Vintage Doll Heads. I love old doll heads because they're cracked and kind of creepy and weird sometimes, and yet these are things that were probably very much loved in their time.
Does it feel like royalty? Like I'm your servant or something?
She's a fan of the Khajiit. Likes those Khajiit.
No, it's a cheetah.
Yeah, that's the cat people in the game. They're called the Khajiit.
No, they're cheetahs.